Welcome back to another stacked video. In this video, we'll be talking about how to increase your bench arch.
In the bench arch, there are two main components. That would be the hardware aspect and the software aspect. The hardware aspect is going to be the physical portions and the actual muscles, stiffness, mobility, things like that. And the software component is going to be taking those physical aspects and actually organizing them in a way that is the most effective.
Hardware, mobility, software, skill. So the components of the hardware are anterior tilt at the pelvis, extension at the lumbar spine, flaring of the rib cage, retraction, a degree of retraction at the shoulders, and depression at the shoulders as well, flattening the neck against the pad, and a degree of internal rotation at the wrist. My goal would be to shift them close to midline so they have room to access both ends of the spectrum. They can get into posterior tilt and anterior tilt.
And so as a result, one of the exercises that brings us back over to midline would be a classical 90-90 hip lift. If you're posteriorly tilted or if you're anteriorly tilted, it just puts you back into the middle. It sets the pace for the rest of your mobility.
Then from there, that will take care of the lower back as well, because if your pelvis can go in either direction, the lumbar will respond to that. Is there anything specific we would do for the lumbar just to drive more extension there?
We would start anywhere from like a foam roller to a seal stretch, something to just really expand, our rib cage out and get some of those maybe stiff tissues in our lumbar kind of looser. Sometimes there are stiff pieces that we have to unstiffen to then kind of mold to what we want.
The next piece of the hardware is the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades is a similar idea. If the person is already starting in an overly retracted position or in an overly protracted position, if they like to bias a lot of flexion or extension, we would want to do something similar and push them close to midline at the beginning. So some exercises to work on that, or
we would be doing the thread the needle stretch, maybe a hook lying alternating bench press, dumbbell bench press, maybe even some extra protraction or reaching upward mobility type drills. So for the neck portion, it can be a little bit more nuanced because some people already kind of have a more flat neck, and then some people really have a lot of extension in their necks. So depending on which party you're in, you might have to loosen some of the muscles that might be pulling your neck forward or loosen some of the muscles that might be pulling your neck backward. And that would be the traps and the scalenes. A little bit more nuanced, like I said. Typically, if you have the other pieces pretty set, the neck kind of will fall in place, but there are some people that their neck can be an extra tight portion where it can actually steer the ship the wrong way. Assessing which ones are getting tight while you're benching might give you a hint as to why your neck might be not flush against the pad. Software is basically utilizing the hardware to the best of its ability. I've said it a million times, the hardware is always better than the software. What that means is we usually have more capabilities than we effectively tend to use. So learning how to effectively use all of our pieces usually lends us greater than the hardware portion.
And we'll be breaking down the skill or software portion in 5 pieces in order of importance. The first one would be shoulder position, second will be rib cage position, third would be neck pressure, fourth will be hand pressure, and the last one and the most important one is the legs.
All right, so for shoulder position, we usually like to see our shoulders as depressed as possible, our traps relaxed, and we really don't want too much retraction. There is kind of like just a little bit about that where some people use a little bit more than others, but more than anything, the shoulder depression is what we need the most of on this.
And the retraction is something that will happen as you're setting up and creating extension with the lower back and rib cage. The shoulders will naturally retract, so we don't need to retract them to the point of maximum retraction because we need some of that room to bring the bar down and not have the shoulders roll forward at the bottom. I think of the rib cage as the connecting piece from the legs all the way to the shoulders, and usually the rib cage position will be a response of what you do with the hands, the shoulders, and the legs. So if you are utilizing the legs correctly and you're not tensing up your shoulders too much, the rib cage will tilt as one unit and create this extension and high arch position.
The rib cage usually is the thing that gives us the clues as to how the bottom half and the top half are functioning. Third on the list, we have neck pressure. Neck pressure is something that when you have it right, it feels like the pad is nice and grippy. It feels like everything is in contact with itself, and it's as simple as feeling your neck. Not too much complicated about it. It's more problems arise when you can't feel your neck.
And that's the sign of someone utilizing the friction of the pad and not only relying on the feet and the barbell. That's when you start seeing people utilizing the sticky pad to actually drive that arch higher. And the fourth one, which I think is something gets overlooked, is hand pressure. If you are pushing maximally with the legs and trying to drive this rib cage up high, but there is no point to anchor the shoulders down, you would see the arch go nowhere. So we need an anchor point, which is usually the pressure against the barbell.
Okay, so now the most important piece would be your legs. If you can have the other 4 pieces complete, then the legs really can actually do their job.
That's where you're able to use your maximal capacity. If the shoulders are set, the rib cage is relaxed and positioned in a way to drive extension, and the neck pressure is there, and we're pushing against the barbell with the hands, then the stage is set for the legs to drive the arch as high as possible. There is 2 directions you can push. You can push horizontally or vertically, or a vector of those 2. The more vertically you push into the floor, the more the hips will shoot up in the air, which will not contribute to your arch. And the more horizontally you push into the floor, the more we see this force transfer into the arch and creating that extension. And to summarize, for you to create the highest arch possible, you need 2 components. You need the mobility or the hardware, which will dictate your maximal capacity, and the skill and the software component will dictate how much of it you express. We hope you guys found this video helpful, and please leave us a like, comment, subscribe to our Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Peace.